how will you ensure that your children and grandchildren will remember your testimony? You can write it down, maybe even write a book, write a memoir about your story. You can, of course, tell your story to your children and grandchildren. But, as soon as we go, a lot of the opportunities that we have to share our testimony go with us. And so today we're going to talk about a very special way that you can encapsulate your testimony so that it can live on. And that is through writing a beautiful song. And to help us do that today, we have a special guest, my friend and student, Aleena Wadsworth, and she's going to tell us her story and how she has recently been able to encapsulate her testimony into a song. So welcome, Aleena. Glad you're with us today.
Hi.
So, we all have difficulties and struggles and trials as part of the mortality process, right? And so it seems like very often, perhaps in my life, maybe in your life, that testimonies are often built in the refiner's fire, right? We learn some important things there. And so I was particularly interested in hearing your story and being able to share it with others. Just to give everybody a little context, you recently finished our 8-week primary song workshop and wrote a beautiful song called Every Day, Every Hour. And that's when this story sort of came out. And so we're excited to hear the story today. Will you just get us started by telling us a little bit about who you are, maybe a little bit about your musical background, and then let's get into the Refiner's Fire story.
Okay, my name's Aleena Wadsworth, and I have 7 kids. And what else about me? Oh, my music. There we go. I have always enjoyed music. I remember just as a little kid swinging on the swings and always singing. And my mom played the piano very well. She tried to teach me just a little bit on the piano, but we didn't have a lot of money, so I never took piano lessons. But I joined band in 6th grade and learned the clarinet and loved that. And then when I got into 9th grade, when all of my friends and lots of my peers could play the piano for seminary or young women's, I just really wanted to be able to do that too. And so I sat down for hours and hours and taught myself on the hymns. I taught myself to play the piano and that I could play. And here I am now, like being able to play for somebody at church. I never ever thought that would ever happen for me, but it's just was a lot of determination, I guess, to learn that. And so that's basically
great.
My music background, and I did marching band as well. But
fun. And then, how did you learn about the Latter-day Musiversity and the workshops we do here?
I'm actually the ward choir director in our ward, and we had a ward, I don't know, a music workshop where they invited anyone who was in a music calling to come. And so I went to that, and Brother Kempton, I showed him a piece that I was working on trying to maybe write for the choir. And he's like, it's not quite there yet. But I have a friend that does this really cool thing, and he kind of can help you maybe. And so he gave me your email.
Nice.
And I just joined your email list. And anyway.
Oh, very cool.
That's how I heard about you.
Good old Randy Kempton at BYU, Idaho. Excellent.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, well, let's get into the story because I wanna make sure everybody gets to hear your song today. We're gonna play your song. We're gonna look at the lyrics and get a chance to hear your beautiful song. And by the way, just as a little alert, she has a really special video she's prepared that goes along with her song that we're going to show, and we'll get into that in a minute. But why don't you first take us back, because you went through a sizable trial that has now maybe in a way come full circle with this song that you've written to some degree. So take us back and set this up for us.
As I've been thinking about, just because of the primary workshop and being able to think about it again, I was actually just realizing that this journey of my testimony growing of this started years before Archie was ever born, because we have our 3rd child was born in August, and I was trying to decide if I should send him to kindergarten because, it's a late birthday. And I was just really worried. And so I went to the temple and I prayed about it. And I just got a clear impression that, yes, you should send him. It's going to do him good. So I sent him to kindergarten. Now, bear with me because this will seem like, why does this even relate? But as we fast forward a few years later, I got another clear impression that we should have another child. And we had already had three boys in a row pretty quickly, and I did not want to be pregnant again. But it was so clear, and I just knew that we needed to. So I went along with it. And then we found out at our gender reveal that this little boy was going to have some major heart defects. And anyway, he was born in July. And why that was important for me to have that impression to send my kindergartner when I did is that the Lord knew that it was going to be a little too stressful for me to have a kindergartner in when my son was going to be going through some heart surgeries. And so I know that God was aware of that. Years before it happened, he was thinking of me and wanting to help me through that trial. So it was just one little sliver of that, but also because of following the prompting to get pregnant when we did, that trial happened during the summer when my kids weren't in school. And so it was a little less hard to balance, school and homework and all of that. I didn't have to worry about any of that. That's another thing that the Lord was aware of me with. And then we had a neighbor that was so kind. I wasn't sure what to do with our other kids when we had the baby. We lived in Idaho. We had to deliver in Utah. And I just wasn't sure what to do. And she came up to me one Sunday and said, "When can I watch your kids? They're going to stay with me. You go and take care of the baby and we'll watch your kids here." And that was such a relief. Another little token of the Lord knew that I wasn't going to ask her to come and watch my kids. I wasn't going to ask anyone. I didn't know what to do. And he knew I needed her to step in and offer that. And so, yeah. And also, before Archie was born, I was really struggling and went to the temple, and there was this tiny, clear little voice that told me that, "Mommy, it's all going to be okay." And that little voice of him telling me things were going to be okay really carried me through some of the unknowns before he was born. Wow. And anyway, so many things like that. After he was born, I know that there was no way I could have done what I had to do to take care of him and take care of all of my other kids at home without the strength of the Lord. And it was all because he was aware of me and he was carrying me through this really big trial.
Wow.
So those are just a few details.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So when the primary song workshop started, we always start with, for you listener, we always begin with trying to come up with a storyboard type of idea of like, what is this song really about? Because when we write songs here in the Latter-day Musiversity, we don't just write them to write them. It's not about the notes. It's not about the chords. It's not about the piano part. Those are all important, but it's really about the message. And my goal is not just to have people figure out how to write a song, but to allow this song to work as a powerful testimony booster for themselves too, and to share with others. And that's why that idea of, can I leave something behind for my posterity with a testimony in a song, is such a powerful one to me. And so when the class started and we began this, all right, what's your song going to be about? At what point did you connect the dots between the song and the challenge that you'd had with your son and his heart surgeries?
It was even before I started the class, actually. I wasn't going to start your class because I just kind of joined Music Evangelist, and then I got the email about the primary workshop, and I was like, I don't have time to probably do that yet. And then you pushed the deadline or whatever to 2 weeks, and I thought, well, maybe I should just think about it. Like, if I was going to write a primary song, what would I write about? And these words just came, every day, every hour, God's aware of you. And then I prayed about whether I should join, and it was just like, yes, like that's something I think that you need to write this song. Is
Wow.
just I just really felt that way.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, pause. I got to figure out where I am on my notes. Yes, why this topic? Okay. Okay, great. So before we get into some of the details of writing a song, because having a desire to write a song is different from actually writing a song, let me ask a question I don't really know the answer to, but I'm curious to hear what you think. How does having this song that you have now every day and every hour about this experience, what does that mean to you, and what does it mean to your family to have this story connected to this song?
Well, I started singing it to my daughter, and just as I was writing it, and it's been fun to hear her sing those little words. She can't talk like super great. She says, every day and big and small, and it's really fun to just kind of, she loves for me to sing it, and so I think that she can feel the spirit of that. And then also I sing it to Archie. And it gives me a chance to bear my testimony of that God does know what you're going through, big or small, every day, and He's going to help you. Whether and actually the other day he just even told me, even if it's heavy or light, Mom. And I'm like, yes, you're getting this idea that I have, that I'm trying to get at here.
Oh, that's awesome. How old is he now?
He'll be 6 in July.
Okay, he's about the same age as my son, who's 5 right now. That's awesome. That's great. All right, well, let's this reminds me one more point before we get to the nitty gritty of songwriting, that this whole idea of trial being something that we can work through and maybe even reflect on better through creativity has always been interesting to me, and it reminds me of the hymn "It Is Well with My Soul." And when you were telling your story during our showcase, that the thought of this song came back. So, for those who are listening, if you don't know, the hymn "It Is Well with My Soul" was written by a man named Horatio Spafford, and it was after a terrible tragedy. I mean, you read the words, "It is well with my soul," and it's like, yeah, that's a nice sentiment. But then you learn that it was written after his 4 daughters were lost at sea and died, with most of the passengers on a ship, and his wife survived and wrote home this very sad short note: "I survived alone." And for a father to receive that message that his 4 daughters had died, and it was actually a series of tragedies that had happened in his business in the late 1870s in Chicago, and the Great Chicago Fire. There was all these issues, and in that heat of the trial is when the words came: "When peace like a river, and it is well with my soul." So this is not a one-time thing. It's not just Aleena, it's not just Horatio, but we can all reflect on and make sense of and ponder on the lessons of what Heavenly Father wants us to learn in our challenges by using our creativity. And that's what I find so special about these song workshops that we do. Anything to say about that?
Just that I love that song. We sing it in our ward choir, and I should have looked up the details because I didn't realize, or maybe I have heard that, but I'd forgotten. And so I think it just makes those words more meaningful when sometimes when you know that, when there is that story behind it that you don't realize, but then it makes it more meaningful.
Yeah, sure does. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more in detail about what we learned in the class. So there's this whole idea of the inspiration of writing a song, but then how do I actually do this, right? And I refer to this as sort of the inspiration and the craft, because we do need inspiration. We need to have an idea, but we also then need some technical things to create our song. And so in discussing your experience, you shared with me a few things that were meaningful to you, and the first one was actually about being vulnerable. Will you speak to that? How did that choice to allow yourself to be vulnerable in our workshop help you with the technical of writing a song?
Well, it was really scary at first to put your music out there for anybody to just kind of, I don't know. You think maybe they're going to say that's so stupid or something. I don't know. Um, but when you are able to be vulnerable and let people view what you've written or your thoughts, they just add to it or can make it better. And so I think that's really important. If you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, you can never really improve.
Yeah, so true. And what's great is everybody in the class feels the same way, and then we all come together and realize, oh, wait a minute, they're not going to be mean to me. We're all going to help each other, and that's always so fun. Another thing you mentioned was that you believe that, and maybe this dawned on you in the class, I don't know, but you said something about writing shouldn't be done one-on-one. Can you say more about that?
I just don't think I've tried writing lots of songs and they're okay. But now as I'm learning more about the craft, as you say, it just only makes it better and more powerful when you can have those better chords or that better lyric or whatever by working together and having other people, because they're going to help you not say something, I don't know, completely off the rockers or whatever. I don't know. So it just helps you to have other people give their insight is really helpful in being able to improve. And if you're doing that alone, you won't ever get that. So
that's so true. It's hard though. It's sort of counterintuitive because when we're creative, we often want to be by ourselves for protection, right? We don't want to feel ridiculed or dumb or, I mean, that's a very natural human emotion that we all have. Like, I certainly don't want anybody to watch me drawing. That would be really bad. And, I'm relatively good at writing music, but I don't want anybody watching me write music. Like, yikes. And then to have to come and share it, it's challenging. But there is strength in numbers there where we can support each other. And, sometimes people see things in my pieces that I never saw. And for good or for things that need to be fixed, and it's so helpful. I'm curious, in the 4 phases of the class, we go through writing the lyrics, then the melody, then the chords, then the piano accompaniment. Where was the biggest struggle for you in those?
The lyrics definitely came really easily for me this time, but probably more the what do we call it when we're doing the blocked harmony? Yeah. I don't know. I just kept on doing parallel fifths, and just that's not where my strength is yet, because I'm still learning a lot of music theory. I don't have. I studied music in college as a music minor, but never got to my music theory classes, because I was afraid of them.
Sure.
Anyway, sure. And so that's really for me probably was my hardest. Just I can say this sounds good, but I don't have as much knowledge on like, you need to do this, maybe go to this chord next kind of thing. So that was my challenge for me.
That makes sense. It's very new. When you first learn that stuff, I remember not knowing that before and then going, wait a minute, you mean there's things I shouldn't do and why shouldn't I do them? And, should is a strong word and everybody has a way through it, but there is a grammar of harmony that we try to learn. And it was fun for me to watch you realize, there's a grammatical change that could happen here. And then to see you try various options until we found it. And we did. And we made it work. It's really great. Really great. Excellent. Well, another thing you shared with me was the idea about mistakes. And what is it about mistakes that helped you write your song?
Well, I have to make mistakes in order to be propelled forward. You can't, if I'm scared to make mistakes, then I'm never going to try anything. And so there were several times I came to class with a few mistakes and felt a little embarrassed, honestly, but you guys were all so nice and not like, oh, that's horrible that you would do that. But it reminded me that we all started here. We've all had to learn at some point. And so that just really helped me to come back and not be super embarrassed the next time. Like, okay, nobody's gonna say I'm horrible, that I made a mistake. And I've got to remind myself that I am just learning. And so it's okay to make those mistakes and keep trying.
That's so true. Mistakes. It's another counterintuitive thing about human nature that we don't really learn much from success. But boy, we can sure learn from failure and from messing up. Sometimes we don't want to because we'd like to avoid that feeling of I messed up or I messed up again, right? And that's a normal feeling, but important in the creative process, right? To be able to say, okay, that note's clearly not working. Let's try the next one. I sometimes I tell a story about when I was writing my opera at the Kennedy Center. There was this one night where we'd done this workshop all day. The singers were there for like 6 hours, and we were going through the piece and working on it and reworking things. And then the singers all went home, and me and the director and the music director and one of the piano accompanists were sitting around for another couple hours, just like picking it apart. What's wrong with this scene? And the whole discussion was what I did wrong. I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting heavy, And I literally for about a half an hour, we were on one page and really like 4 measures of music. That why is this not working? And this is why, and this is why. And if this composer had written it, they'd do it this way. And if this can, and I finally grabbed the page and ripped it out of my binder, and everybody's like, whoa, what are you doing? So, well, clearly it's not working. So how about I try again? And I remember the music director going, I don't think I've ever seen a composer do that. They're normally fighting for, no, this is right because this and this and this. It was like, if it's not working, let's try again.
Let's try again.
And it worked better after that. It was great. Yeah. Anyway, that's a great thing for people to realize, because it is scary to make mistakes, but when we do, that's our stepping stone, right, to grow to the next thing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And then your last little tip that you shared with me was my favorite, and it has to do with writing your songs in the shower. What is your tip for everybody?
Well, I just bring my notebook and page in the shower, and no, I don't know. A lot of times if I've got some words in my head, I like to start playing around with some, like, how could I sing this? Yeah. And I'll just start singing in the shower, and it's amazing to me how often I'll come out of the shower with like, that was pretty good. I'm gonna hurry and record that. Like, yeah. I might want to use that later, but I don't know what it is about just either repeating the words over and over in my head throughout the day. And it's like, by the end of the day, it's like something just finally comes when you've like been stuck on it all day, or in the shower. Yeah. That's really cool.
There's a couple things in there I hadn't thought of until you just said that. One of them is vocalizing what you've been working on internally, right? Because you might be sitting at the piano and maybe you're humming to yourself a little bit, but you're like trying a note and writing it down and trying another thing. And a lot of it's just inside. And even if we're using the piano, it's just kind of like in our ears and it's not really out there. But when you walk away from the writing desk or from the piano and you're doing something else, whether it's the shower or dishes or walking around the block or whatever, and you're in a different atmosphere and you're vocalizing what you are working on or, stumbling on or whatever, it changes the perspective and you hear in a new way, which is really helpful. I'm glad that you kind of tripped upon that excellent tip of vocalizing. And the other thing is just the being willing to take an idea and go over it again and again and again and again and again and refine. I remember one teacher one time telling me, I was at a summer festival and had a composition lesson with him, and he's like, don't tell me you're one of those composers who says, this is the music that came to me, it must be. It's like, that is malarkey. Nobody just gets music floating down from the heavens perfectly. Even Mozart, even Bach. Like, that's, you have to work it and rework it and rework it and rework it. And it's like a lot of people say in novel writing and screenplay writing that great writing is rewriting. And that is just as true in music. So the fact that you were doing that when you're singing in the shower or throughout the rest of the day, that's really what you're doing. You had an idea, and then you're kind of rewriting it by rote out loud until something locks into place. So that's an excellent, helpful tip for everybody. Well, let's not make anybody wait any longer. I'm so excited for people to watch your video of your little boy and his struggle with his heart surgery while they hear your song. But first, let's read through the lyrics, and then we can listen and watch the video. Every day and every hour, God is aware of you. Every day and every hour, He knows what you're going through. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is aware of you. Every day and every hour, God is a prayer away. Every day and every hour, He knows what you need each day. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is a prayer away. Every day and every hour, God is always there. Every day and every hour, He knows what your burdens are. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is always there.
Every day and every hour, God is aware of you. Every day and every hour, He knows what you're going through. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is aware of you. Every day and every hour, God is a prayer away. Every day and every hour, He knows what you need each day. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is a prayer away. Every day and every hour, God is always there. Every day and every hour, He knows what your burdens are. Big or small, heavy or light, you will never leave His sight. Every day and every hour, God is always there.
Wow, Aleena, what a beautiful song. It's so meaningful, and I don't think I'll ever forget when we were at our online showcase, like our little Zoom recital, the tears in the room. Everybody was like stunned. It just is the beauty of your story and how it was told through your song was very powerful. And it's amazing that just some simple little notes can tell a story with such power. And so you did a really great job with that. I felt very proud of you for your accomplishment.
Well, thank you.
So how do you think going forward, I mean, who knows what the future holds, but what do you think this song might mean to your little boy or to your family in years to come?
Well, I've written down, I love keeping a journal and everything, and that's one way of preserving this experience, but there is something powerful about music and the way that it touches your heart and the way that you can feel it differently than just reading words on a page. And so I hope that it will just solidify for them that God will never leave them. He will always be there every step of the way, every day and every hour. He's constantly watching over them and us.
So true. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for coming on the channel and sharing your song with us. I'm so glad for people to hear this. More people need to hear it. So we're going to get the word out about your beautiful song. So thank you for sharing that. And if you listening are interested in trying this yourself, there's a great way to do it with very low stress. And that is with my free crash course. Down below this video, there's a little link, and I've got 7 simple lessons that I send you. And we start with not having to write your own piece, because that can be scary at first. But I give you a few little chords that you can add to a hymn or primary song you're playing to sort of personalize it yourself. That's a great sort of entry point into this writing world. So if that sounds interesting to you, down below the video, you can grab that free crash course, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Well, thank you for tuning in, and remember, you can encapsulate your testimony, and you can do it in a lot of ways, but there may not be any more powerful way, I'm not sure if there is, than encapsulating it in a beautiful song. Because when your kids and grandkids and great-grandkids someday sing that melody again, it's like grandma resurrects and her spirit's back, and we can remember the testimony. And it's a really special thing. So come and join us sometime so you can encapsulate your testimony in song. Thanks again, Aleena, and we'll see everybody next time.